On the Road to Find Out, a novel by Robert C. Brewster, narrated by Robert C. Brewster. Part 1, A Time of Hope, 1967 to 1969. Wildwood, New Jersey, June the 9th, 1969. It was the East Coast summer of love, though none of us knew it yet. It would also be the summer of a lot of other incredible firsts. I was 19 years old and had just finished high school, barely. I'll save you doing the math. I was on the 6-year plan. In 8th grade, I was done in by Latin and French and my 13-year-old hormones and testosterone running wild. I was educated in the Catholic school system in Canada by an order of Jesuit brothers from the United States. So now you understand why Latin was such an important subject and could be the difference between moving on to the 9th grade or not. I mean, it was 1963 and I was 13 years old and had already lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis, where all us 7th graders had to practice hiding under our school desks whenever we heard the sirens that were located on most government-owned buildings in the city. It was the end of the world. The Russians were going to blow us all to smithereens, and there was no way out of it. A couple of months into my high school education years, November 22nd, 1963 to be exact, I got to witness over and over and over again in the months to come the 35th President of the United States of America having the back of his head blown off, and a few days later watching Jack Ruby assassinate the only suspect in John F. Kennedy's murder, Lee Harvey Oswald, live on television on Sunday. So a rational individual might understand why a healthy, horny 13-year-old boy might have other worldly things on his mind than Latin and French in freaking 1963. The world had changed, but it seemed that the adults didn't get it. After a near-nuclear war so vivid in our memories, why in God's name would teaching high school kids a dead language be of any importance in our not known at the time but New World Order, which had just been born? Now the president and his accused killer were being murdered over and over again on the nightly newscast, and I was supposed to give a shit about Latin and French. Bite me, damn it! But I digress, much more about the high school years later. Where do I begin? The visions are so vivid, yet at times they fade so fast. I can look at an old photograph that has been tucked away in a box in the attic for 30 years, and all of a sudden the times and the memories come to life as if they were happening now. How unimportant, when you live in the moment, are the times that are unfolding in front of your eyes. It is only in retrospect that you can stand back from the moment and realize how relevant they were in shaping the world we all live in today, not to mention our very own lives. So, where should I start? There were 12 of us that first summer that had arrived in early June from Montreal and stuck it out until Labor Day weekend. We were all from the same section of Montreal known as Ville Saint-Laurent, a small city that took on an identity all its own, a place where kids ran free and embraced the rapidly changing culture while their parents still lived in the 1950s where they wanted to be and felt comfortable in the things they had embraced. I guess the same can be said for every generation as they get caught up in their world and what's important to them. But hell, this was 1969 and none of that mattered. It was all about the now. I'd gotten off the bus and headed for a place called Stokes Laundry, where I had been told some of the boys were working. Stokes was a local dry cleaner that was very large and employed a lot of folks who liked to sweat a lot in the hot midday sun. Within minutes of nosing around, I knew this was not something that I wanted to spend my summer doing. There was a sandwich shop across the street with a multicolored wooden deck called Madame George, and the Beatles' Get Back blaring from speakers I couldn't see. I was hungry and still had $50 in my pocket. I figured one of the Lewan brothers would show up soon enough and I wouldn't have to wait too long. How right I was. The place
Sample complete. Ready to continue?